Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. First of all, let me be clear. I did not want to get on board with this House of the Dragon chicanery back when it premiered in 2022. Like many others, I felt burned by Game of Thrones' final season and was convinced the property didn't have the juice to sustain the very public bake-off HBO held to develop several successor shows, many of which are still being developed. Yet the series won me over, continually impressing with its insistence on not being Game of Thrones. Herein lies the problem. A lot of people want more Game of Thrones. This is the root of much malcontent over the Season 2 finale of House of the Dragon, which arrived not with fireworks, but with a wonderful anticlimax. Rhaenyra Targaryen, played by Emma Darcy, after 8 episodes of hemming and hawing, is finally marching to war, bolstered by the 3 newly saddled dragons in tow. That war, however, will come next season, probably 2 years from now. Audience frustration over this ending was likely anticipated by showrunner Ryan Condal. The writer-producer was immediately ready for disappointment over the lack of a violent closer for this abbreviated season, promising a Season 3 battle that will be the biggest thing to date that we've pulled off. Condal was probably ready for this question because, despite the valiant efforts mounted by his cast and crew to create something distinct, House of the Dragon's primary job is to be more Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones established certain patterns. Namely, you don't end a season without a showstopper, preferably one that breaks the boundaries of what's possible on prestige television. The Queen Whoever Was did not offer that, nor did the penultimate episode, The Red Sowing, where Game of Thrones traditionally had its barn burners slotted so the finale proper could sort out the aftermath. Instead, the biggest battle took place right in the middle of the season, in Episode 4. Structurally, this is odd, if you assume that Season 2 of House of the Dragon was ever going to be about a war, that is. But at every turn, the show's writers deliberately underlined the story they were telling this year. Not of a war, but of how one starts, and the many bargains those in power make with themselves to justify waging one. Consider another divisive aspect of this season, Daemon Targaryen's haunted walkabout in Herein. It's natural for an audience to complain when a fan-favorite character is exiled from the main plot of a season, no longer driving the story forward. But plot is not the sole signifier of import, and House of the Dragon's Herein interludes have given the show's most dynamic character, and its most riveting acting talent in Matt Smith, some of the most compelling character work on the show. He arrives in Herein ostensibly to amass an army for his niece-turned-wife Rhaenyra, but not so secretly wishes to claim said army for himself. He could do it, too. When Rhaenyra arrives in Herein to confront him, the assembled host effectively waits to see whether or not he'll bend the knee. But he's a changed man, and bend he does. That change comes from an important revelation for Daemon. Ruling a kingdom is stupid and boring. He arrives at the castle still the pretender to the throne he was in Season 1, full of swaggering entitlement, and then the Riverlands slowly grind him down. He believes at first that being a king means subjecting others to his will. He learns that, in fact, it means being subject to your people's petty rivalries and feuds, that there are sworn oaths and familial bonds that precede you and will outlive you, and getting anything done with all of that baggage is a huge pain in the ass. That he learns all this at the hand of a shockingly cocksure teenager, in front of an audience of grown men, makes it all the better. Daemon wanted a war because he thought it would make him king. Now he will fight one because he knows he doesn't want to be. This is the smaller scope of House of the Dragon working as intended, even with its sprawling cast. The series is effectively a character study about 2 women of ambition and their differing approaches to seizing power in a world built to shut them out. The push and pull between Rhaenyra and Alicent ripples outward continually, leading to consequences neither foresee. Alicent's attempts to make herself invaluable to the throne pushes Westeros to war, and war becomes the pretext by which the small council and Aemond shut her out. Rhaenyra stakes her claim on her proud Targaryen lineage, but can only fight back against King's Landing by undermining the myth of nobility and finding her dragon riders among the cast-offs and bastards of the realm. There is no principle that war will not make a mockery of. House of the Dragon will always be at odds with itself in this regard. It is a show of conversations and hand-wringing, a tale of familial disarray and palace intrigue that seems to have the stage in mind more than the screen.